We were also able to verify that hundreds were being held in a nearby town in a school, and spoke to a survivor, interviewed a survivor who told us that people were being executed, killed in front of him, with an execution style approach, kind of similar to what we see from ISIS, these kind of random pulling people out of crowds and then killing them in front of other civilians. We were shocked. It's such a horrifying scale of destruction and death.
The killing in Sudan has often been compared to the genocide in Rwanda. Now, events there also seem to have a parallel with Pol Pot's murderous regime in Cambodia in the 1970s. Civilians in Sudan are being killed in what is being described as killing fields, a term you may remember being used about the massacres in Cambodia. An investigation by Sky News has found evidence that thousands have been killed and tens of thousands have gone missing after fleeing a city on the front line. Well, Sky News' Africa correspondent Yousra Elbagir carried out the investigation. She's reported from Sudan many times and is herself of Sudanese origin. She joins us now. Good morning.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Our listeners, we've covered the story a little bit, but you have obviously a vast amount of experience. What did you find in your joint investigation?
So we worked with Lighthouse Reports and Sudan War Monitor on this to analyze the videos that were coming out of the people escaping al-Fashir, but also to try and understand what happened to the 60,000 who were unaccounted for at the time. So like thousands of people were leaving al-Fashir and fleeing, but we weren't able to know where they went, considering the safest displacement shelters nearby hadn't been receiving the number of people that we expected them to receive. And as our forensics team at Sky analyzed the videos, we were able to trace civilians who had left the city, were later held, and then were able to see more civilians being killed in these killing fields. We were also able to verify that hundreds were being held in a nearby town in a school, and spoke to a survivor, interviewed a survivor who told us that people were being executed, killed in front of him, with an execution style approach, kind of similar to what we see from ISIS, these kind of random pulling people out of crowds and then killing them in front of other civilians. We were shocked. It's such a horrifying scale of destruction and death, but we have seen this before through the course of this war. Previous investigations that we've done has seen a similar pattern of cities in Darfur, in particular, falling to this paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, after a kind of abrupt withdrawal from the army, and then civilians being killed based on ethnicity in these kind of door-to-door executions, specifically of men of fighting age, in what is being described credibly as a genocide.
And what is the logic behind what is going on? Why are these killings taking place? Is it, if it is men of fighting age, is it designed to sort of, I suppose, keep opposition limited? What's the aim here?
I mean, these are decades old rivalries, right? This is a region that has been riddled with competition over land, over resources. But at the same time, these divisions have been fueled by the politics of the country. I mean, the Rapid Support Forces are born out of the Janjaweed militias that terrorized Darfur 20 years ago. I'm sure you guys remember the Save Darfur movement, and that kind of huge outrage around the similar style of killings, these kind of ethnically targeted attacks, razing villages, raping women of a particular tribe. And we're seeing that now on a massive scale, because those tribal militias were empowered by the Sudanese state at the time, and then eventually turned on the Sudanese state and are now fighting the army for control of Sudan. They're more powerful than ever before. Our reporting has supported allegations that the United Arab Emirates has been supporting the Rapid Support Forces. They deny this publicly, but the kind of level of weaponry that these troops have, the sophisticated kind of anti-aircraft weapons they have, the drones that they're using to pummel communities and displacement shelters across the country, has created a humanitarian crisis of massive proportions. This is the largest humanitarian catastrophe in the world.
And so given the evidence that you have collected, and as you're saying there, the evidence that there are, huge global powers involved here, what happens now? What can be done to end the suffering? What can be done to get this conflict under control?
I mean, advocates that we've spoken to have persisted in their recommendation that the UAE needs to be pressured to withdraw its backing of the RSF, that European countries like Germany need to, and the UK need to stop selling arms to the UAE, that there needs to be a kind of global condemnation of what the UAE is backing and the scale of atrocities that we are seeing being committed by the rapid support forces. I think what's most harrowing is the fact that the RSF are documenting these war crimes themselves. The videos that we analyzed in our investigation are videos that are shared by the RSF on their own social media channels, their trophy videos. So the evidence is there. One of the things that's a huge concern is just how long it takes international justice systems to actually press charges. In the previous genocide in Darfur 20 years ago, the military dictator Omar al-Bashir, who empowered these militias that now comprise the RSF, was only charged in 2008 for crimes against humanity, war crimes, and genocide. That was at least 5 years after the eruption of genocidal violence in Darfur. So the concern is just how long will it take for people to be held account? And as we speak now, people are being killed, and these militias are getting more and more powerful and more emboldened.
Well, your reporting will and is helping to at least give people the full picture of what is going on the ground there. Yousra Elbagir, thank you very much for joining us on the programme.
Thank you for having me.
Now, traumatized civilians are still trapped inside the Sudanese city of Al-Fashir in Darfur, and they are being prevented from leaving. I fear that the abominable atrocities such as summer executions, rape, and ethnically motivated violence are continuing within the city. And for those who manage to flee, the violence doesn't end, because the exit routes themselves have been the scenes of unimaginable cruelty. At the same time, I issue a stark warning about events unfolding in Kordofan. Since the capture of Al-Fashir, the civilian casualties, the destruction and mass displacement there have been mounting. There is no sign of de-escalation. To the contrary, developments on the ground indicate clear preparations for intensified hostilities, with everything that implies for its long-suffering people. Given the cataclysmic violence in Al-Fashir, states, especially those who have influence over the parties to the conflict, are put on notice that unless they act quickly and decisively, there will be more of the carnage and bloodshed and the atrocities that we have already witnessed. The Security Council's arms embargo is clear. The provision of continuing military support to sustain parties committing serious violations must stop. I repeat my plea for an immediate end to the violence, both in Darfur and in Kordofan. Bold and urgent action is required by the international community.